Okay, the records are now open. Okay, I don't know if you've heard this before, but you definitely originated from Lyra. So, no, okay, well, uh, so that's a origination point with you. It's not where you ended up, though, so just where you started off. So, I'm getting that, okay. Yeah, I'm getting Lyran humanoid. Okay. Um, very beginning of the Lyran civilization, but it seemed like you kind of bypassed all the traumas that occurred with. Well, not maybe not all of the traumas, but you bypass some of the traumas that occurred with the Lyran Draconian Wars. Do you know what that is?
I do know that there was lots of wars.
Yeah, there is lots of wars. Yeah, so this was the very first war that involved humans, okay, or humanoid type races. So what happened was in Lyra it was a beautiful civilization. There was these very high level beings that when they separated from Source, they decided to move to Lyra because they were co-creators and wanted to create new planets and new galaxies and new everything. So they picked Lyra because the environmental conditions, and it was very inhabitable for new species. It was just had a nice balance, I guess, of different just different environment and good combination of water and oxygen and whatever else beings need. So they created a bunch of different animals and plants, and after that they decided to create different races, and they created the feline races, the bird races, and then the humanoids. And the humanoid races that were there, they were kind of split into like several different subgroups. So they had the white Lyrans, who were very light-skinned, kind of Nordic looking. Then they had the blue-skinned Vegas, who were mainly located around the star Vega, which Vega is the major star in Lyra. So it's within Lyra, but it's just kind of a separate star. And then there was the red-haired people that were also kind of a subgroup of the white Lyrans, and they had several feline races, and they had a bird race, which the bird race kind of kept to themselves. I'm not getting bird or feline with you. I'm getting, Lyran, just Lyran humanoid. In that lifetime, I do see that you did escape the wars. What happened with the wars, and I'm going to backtrack a little bit, was Lyra was a small constellation in the middle of all these other constellations. And the constellation that was closest to Lyra was called Draco. And Draco is the dragon, the kind of the snake-looking constellation. And in Draco, there was another race of beings that were reptilian in, I guess, their look, or they were reptilian races, and they had more of a self-serving consciousness. They were all about conquering other star systems and adding to their empire. That was their main goal. They felt like they were superior to all other beings, and that they had to conquer everything around them. So when they found out about Lyra, they were like, oh yes, we got to have that as part of our empire, because they have nice planets, and we want their resources. So Lyra was the Dracos reached out, the Draconians, they reached out to the Lyrans, and they kind of pretended like they were just going to, create some treaties between them, but they were actually scoping out everything to ambush, and that's what they did. They ambushed the Lyrans. The Lyrans were brand new humanoids. They were never exposed to any violence or any fighting or any conflict. They were, kind of like innocent and naive. So they were totally caught unaware, and quite a few of them lost their lives. And they ended up, I think about 50 million of them lost their lives. That's a lot of beings, So the ones that managed to escaped to other star systems. They just kind of all piled up in different motherships and just took off. They took off to different star systems, just trying to escape from, the wars. So I'm getting that you and your family during that time managed to escape. So you didn't go through a lot of the extreme trauma of going through the wars. I don't see any members of your family that, died. I'm seeing that you all managed to escape. And I'm seeing that your group escaped to the Pleiades. So that was where you ended up going, was the Pleiadian star system. So I don't know if you resonate with Pleiadians, but that you have like a kind of a Lyra Pleiadian signature about you. So that's where you ended up, was in the Pleiades. I am getting that you went to Alcyon, which was a star in the Pleiades, and it was kind of one of the major stars. The other one being Taygeta. And it was, I think, the seat of the Pleiadian government, when they created their new civilization. So at this point, the civilization was fairly new. They were still Lyran refugees. But the focus of the Pleiadians was to create a new civilization that had nothing to do with Lyra. They wanted to totally start new. They wanted to put behind the trauma of the wars. They just wanted to create a new identity for themselves. So they didn't even call themselves Lyrans anymore. They called themselves Pleiadians, and or whatever the equivalent was, in their language. And they created a totally new identity. So their major focus was goddess energy. So they were, mother goddess oriented. So they were, very feminine oriented civilization. Their purpose was higher spiritual growth. They were called the family of light and awakening because that's who they are. They carry as much light with them as possible. They wanted to keep things as positive. They didn't want any of the negativity from Lyra to follow them in this new home of theirs. So they kind of went to the extreme, where they were so focused on light that they didn't want anything to do with the dark, and it kind of created kind of an imbalance in their civilization. And then there were some Pleiadian groups that rebelled against it, but and that was the start of the more negative Pleiadian groups. There was, most of them were positive, but there was a few that were kind of rogue Pleiadians. So I'm seeing with you in Pleiades, I think at the time you were just helping to build a new civilization with your family. And I'm just seeing, the creation of, new, like, and they didn't have like a government like we have here. They had more like councils. So they created a new council of And I'm seeing that some of your family members were, members of the council. So you've had a connection with the High Council of the Pleiadians. And I do see that some other members of your family were more focused on building new infrastructure. So that's what they were involved with. So I don't know if that's something that your current family does, but that's what your family and because they had to. I mean, it was they went to a totally new planet. So you were there right at the beginning of the Pleiadian civilization. I'm seeing that you've had several incarnations in the Pleiades, but then you chose as a soul to move on to other star systems, and I'm going to check in to see which ones they were, because I'm getting that the Pleiades wasn't the only place you were at. I'm getting Aldebaran, which is also in the Taurus constellation. Aldebaran was a slightly different culture than the Pleiadians. They were more patriarchal in their approach. They were more about space exploration and, having lots of adventures. And so I'm seeing in that lifetime, you were on board several ships that just went to different locations throughout the universe. So you went to different places as an Aldebaranian. In your travels, you managed to travel to several parts of the universe. You went to Sirius, you went to Andromeda. You did not go to Orion. I don't see any Orion connection there. I do see that, actually, okay, now I'm seeing it. You were one of the groups of beings that first went as an extraterrestrial to Earth. So you didn't incarnate as a human. You went there as part of an exploratory group. So that was when I guess you first had your connection with Earth, was as this Aldebaranian, explorer. And during that time, I'm seeing that there was different colonies on Earth of these different extraterrestrial beings, and you shared a colony with some Pleiadian groups, and it was I'm seeing Scandinavia. That was the area that you guys inhabited, kind of in that northern area. But I do see that you didn't stay there for the rest of your life. You stayed there for a while. Then when your mission there was over, you went back to Aldebaran. So you were there, I think, for maybe 5 years, or however long your mission was, and then you went back. With this Aldebaranian life, you started to get a taste for, I guess, this, for adventure and for new, exploring new locales. And you found Earth to be quite different and quite fascinating. So in your your subsequent lives after that, I'm seeing that you decided as a soul to incarnate as a human. So you actually started off on Earth fairly early. Okay, so you were there on Earth in the beginning civilizations. I do see Atlantis and mostly European incarnations, but not all European. Okay, so let me check in on that, because I'm not really getting a clear picture. Let me check in. So it was Atlantis for sure, and from there And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. It's this is your reading, so if I need any explanations or just have a question about something, because sometimes I just get talking. I'll see a bunch of stuff, and yeah, it's just yeah, I was just like, okay, and then I start yakking, and then the next thing I know, it's 45 minutes into the reading, and you haven't had a chance to ask your questions. So I'm going to check in on Earth lives. Okay. Okay. I'm getting like you had like a couple of Earth lives, then you took a break for a while. You didn't have like one incarnation after another on Earth. Okay, so you had Atlantis. Then I'm seeing some part of Northern Europe, probably I don't know where. I want to say possibly not Germany, but north of Germany. So most likely Denmark, or I don't know, one of those northern European incarnations, because that's where you were during your Aldebaranian life. So you were drawn to that area. And then I'm seeing that you took a break from Earth for a while, because being high vibrational, Lyran, Pleiadian, Aldebaranian, it was difficult for you to integrate yourself into human form. So I do see that you took a step backwards as far as moving forwards with your Earth incarnations, and decided to have other incarnations in other dimensions. And I'm trying to check to see what those were. I'm not getting really specific. Okay. All right. I am seeing a life on Alpha Centauri, and another life on Venus. Okay, that's interesting. So you kind of did the Earth thing, then you were like, I don't know about this. I'm going to go back to higher dimensional civilizations. And you had Alpha Centauri is they're very advanced technologically. Maybe not quite as advanced as the Pleiadians and the Aldebaranians as far as spiritually. So in a way, that civilization was kind of a step backwards for you, because you liked the technology aspect of it, but you didn't like how far behind they were spiritually. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're more spiritual than humans, okay, but compared to some of the other star races, they're not quite as evolved, okay? So, and I'm seeing in that lifetime you were a scientist, and it was okay for you, but I think you enjoyed your work because you were working with these animal groups, but so you were kind of like a biologist, so you enjoyed, some of that kind of work where you got to work with living beings, but and I'm seeing that you were going around taking samples of different things. So, you were traveling to other, they were more close by. They weren't as far reaching as some of the travels you made as in your Aldebaran life, but as an Alpha Centauri, you were going to like different planets and taking samples of different things. So that was your life then. And then I'm seeing the Venus life. I think because you kind of missed the spiritual aspect in your Alpha Centauri life, you went totally in the opposite direction. And on Venus, it was totally spiritual. It was like, and you were in higher dimensions of Venus, okay? It wasn't third dimension where it's really hot and you're next to the sun, okay? It was higher dimensional Venus. So, in that lifetime, I'm seeing a connection with certain races of beings. They were kind of like very high vibrational, but not quite human. Okay, so you took on a non-human form in that lifetime. It was like kind of like bird people, or I don't know. I'm not really familiar with Corey Good. Does he have bird people? Are they from Venus? Those beings? Yeah. Okay. So they're the bird people that Corey talks about. What they call them, the blue avians. Yeah. So you were a blue avian. Okay. So they're extremely spiritual beings.
Yeah.
So
Wow, that's awesome.
yeah, it was like So you were just like, okay, had enough of the really technologically heavy life in Alpha Centauri. And I'm going to do something totally different. So you had this kind of blue avian incarnation. And that was really high level. I'm wondering why you decided to come back to Earth. Because blue avian is pretty high up there, okay? So, and you're the second person that I've done a reading for that's had a blue avian incarnation. I don't get many of those. So, yeah, why did you decide to come to Earth? Okay, they're saying it was a mission. There's always a mission involved with these things. And it's always like, okay, do I really want to do this? Yeah, I guess I have to. So, okay. Okay, now, okay. What your guides are telling me is in that blue avian life, because you had humanoid DNA, it was difficult for you to stay in that particular form. So after one life, you had to make a choice to go somewhere else. And Earth was the closest place. And you were like, okay, I'm ready to give this Earth thing a go. And so you decided to incarnate back into Earth. And in the next incarnation on Earth, let me check in to see where you ended up. Yeah, I'm getting it's kind of hard for me to see your Earth lives, and usually it's not this hard. And I think it's because you were very reluctant. You were, not really excited about incarnating back onto Earth, but you did. So, okay, I'm seeing an incarnation in an area that's probably now considered like the northern parts of Russia, and that was a tough life. And you were just like, oh man, this sucks, So. Yeah, that was a tough life. I'm seeing you were like a shamanic person in that life. So I'm seeing you traveling to different villages to do some healing work and, some, I think also spiritual healing work with these tribes, because they were just still tribes during that time. They weren't. It wasn't Russia. It was, just like tribes of nomadic people. Because I'm seeing you were very nomadic in this life. You're wearing like this, with reindeer fur, coats with the, I don't know, the parka and the fur covered, hoodie. And I don't know, it was just, and I'm seeing that you're carrying a medicine bag with you. And there was a lot of different crystals and things, and like, different herbs and crystals and things that you were using for healing. I don't know if that's stuff that you're interested in, but that's what you were doing in that life. And what was hard about the life was not so much the culture, it was just the environment. It was very cold. Very, very cold.
I hate the cold.
That's why you hate that's why you hate the cold, because you had that life and you were just like, man, this is tough. I don't want to do this again. So in your next incarnation, I'm seeing, okay, you're in the Mediterranean. Okay, that's a lot better. So in that life, you were, you kind of had a nomadic life in that too. I'm seeing that you were a scholar, because you were a male in that life. In the previous life in Siberia, or wherever it was you were at, I'm going to say Siberia, you were female, and it was tough being female. I mean, it just shows me how tough your soul is, because you were not only female, but you were a shaman, I mean, that's amazing, so so in the other life in the Mediterranean, you were a man, and you were and I'm seeing this is like ancient times, like around in Greece, and I think when Greece was at its highest level of its civilization, it was kind of before Rome really took over. But I'm seeing that you were born into a wealthy family, and you I think you were a philosopher. You were going to different locations, studying philosophy with different teachers. So it was a totally different life than what you had in the previous Siberian life. So you lived pretty much in luxury. I mean, because you came from a wealthy family, and you were just being a philosopher. I mean, you didn't really have a quote unquote job. You were just traveling to different locations, and it was a good life, but there was something a little unsatisfying about it for you, because you didn't really do much to help others. So you were kind of like, well, you're learning a lot. You were learning all the ancient wisdom that was available. I see you even traveling to Egypt, and, as this Greek person. You were traveling to Egypt, you were traveling to Italy, you were traveling to Turkey, you were traveling to the Greek islands, you were traveling to North Africa. I mean, you traveled a lot, but there was something unsatisfying about that life. And so in your consequent life after that, you decided to leave Europe, and you incarnated in North America. And I'm seeing, I think you took another break before that incarnation. You stayed in etheric form. You didn't incarnate into specific star or planets, but when you decide to incarnate again, I do see that you incarnated as Native American. Okay, so you have this Native American, and I'm seeing that it was kind of in the central part of North America, so likely where the United States is now. And I'm seeing again, you did not want to be in the cold, so you stayed more like in the Southwest, kind of like Plains, Southwest area. So I'm guessing you were probably Ute, Cheyenne, or Hopi. I think you had an incarnation as Hopi, and then another incarnation after that as Ute, Cheyenne. So you were kind of in the area of Colorado, Wyoming, kind of in that locale. As a Hopi, you were further south, so you were, where Arizona is right now. And the life you connected with the most was the Hopi life, because it was very spiritually oriented. But without the hardships of the Siberian life. Okay, so you've had a fair amount of Earth incarnations. Not a bunch, but you had a fair amount. I would say maybe 10 to 15 lives on Earth. And I'm not sure why you chose to incarnate in this life in Canada, except because Canada is really cold. But
Yes.
but I guess probably was a good match for. I guess your family was a good match for your DNA, or there was some reason behind it. Now, did you grow up in? So you said you're in Edmonton, or yeah? Okay,
Yes.
gotcha. Yeah. Did you grow up there pretty much all your life, or were you? Okay, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, the only thing I can think of, and I'm going to check into with the records too. Yeah, I think it was your particular family. They had the right genetic mix, for you to incarnate into that particular family. What's your family's, I guess, heritage, or what's your lineage as far as nationality, or?
Well, I know that most of on both sides of the family are from like Europe, basically, mostly Western Europe.
Yeah, gotcha.
Mostly. And I have a little bit of indigenous, like native.
Native, yeah, that's what I
A
figured.
little bit on both sides, but very small.
Yeah, okay. It was the mix of the family, because you had your Native American incarnations, and then you had your European incarnations. So it was the mix. It was a good mix of the European. With the European is like Pleiadian, Aldebaranian. But then again, some of the the indigenous races also incarnated. They were also, I think, descendants of the Pleiadians. So it was just a good mix of the DNA. So even though you didn't want to go back in the cold, but it's like I almost see you like in your future life. When you retire, you're gonna like head to like Florida, or I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, to like
I want to go back to the Mediterranean.
yeah, the Mediterranean,
That's
yeah.
a lot.
Yeah. No, that was a fun life for you because you got to travel a lot, but
Yeah.
yeah, that was it was good. And I think you enjoyed that incarnation, because not only because the weather and the climate was nice, but because you were learning a lot. I mean, you went to the library in Alexandria, which was the library in Egypt that had all the ancient knowledge of all the this is ancient knowledge that came from the stars. So all the ancient knowledge from Sirius, from the Pleiades, from Andromeda. So when the Romans destroyed Alexandria, they burned down the library. It was a great loss to humanity. So, but you were there before they destroyed it. So it was. I think you learned a lot. I mean, you carry a lot of this knowledge still with you. You have this ability to see through. I mean, for lack of a better word, bullshit. Okay, so yeah, you see through bullshit. You see the clear picture of what's going on around you. Even though you're young, I mean, there is no. I mean, you see things very clearly, especially with, I think, social issues and political issues and things like that. I wouldn't say you're a conspiracy theorist, but you do. I think you're very aware of the intrigue and the illusions behind a lot of our social structures. So that it's something you're very aware of. And a lot of that was because of your Greek life. You were exposed to so much knowledge. I mean, you were just, and And I think also because of your travels when you were in Aldebaran, you were traveling in all these different locales, and so you had exposure to a lot of different civilizations, and it was just like, oh, okay, this one works, this one doesn't work so well, you probably see Earth as being very, very behind, very behind. Just very what's the word? Barbaric, maybe. Just not up to par of what you're used to in your previous lifetimes, especially in your blue avian life. That was also a very significant life for you, because you were just a spiritual being, and you were so high level that, like I said, it was difficult for your DNA structure to stay within that body. So you were almost forced to have to incarnate into a different life form. But like I said, Earth was close, and you were like, okay, I'll do the Earth thing for a while. But then you chose like the toughest life you had, which was the Siberian lifetime. So it was interesting. So, are you going to school right now?
No.
No, okay. Are you working, or?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha. And what are you working in right now?
It's just administrative.
Oh, okay. So, I don't see you staying. I don't see you staying in that.
No. I'm just hoping maybe that I can figure out what I'm supposed to do regarding jobs. For sure is one of the things I want to know.
Yeah, and that's what I figured. So I that's why I was asking. But I'm gonna check in with your guides. I don't know why they're telling me this, but they're saying you're a good writer. Are you? Are you a good writer?
I don't have specific skills in writing. I've never been told I was a good writer.
Okay, I don't know. They're saying
my mother's told me, but that's it.
I don't know. They're saying that you're good. You're actually better than you think, and they're saying like alternative journalism, which I don't even know what that means, but like you're going to be researching like things that are like I don't know if you do this already, but you have this great insight into kind of stuff that's going on that's not right. And are you good at researching, or have you okay?
I've been doing all the research lately.
Yeah, they're saying that you research a lot, and you have this ability to take pieces, and you're able to discern what's fake news and what's not. So you have this ability to take things that are facts and be able to put together the piece. It's like you're like a detective almost. You're putting together pieces of information, and then you can figure out what's going on, what's really going on. So they're saying that you're going to start doing some blogs on some of the things that you're researching. Like, I don't know if, are you into like the whole Pizzagate stuff, or I don't know. Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, that's what they're telling me, that you'll be doing a lot of research with some of the, the pedo rings, and some of the stuff you're going to find out is going to be really shocking, but obviously we all need to know about it. So you're going to become like this investigative journalist, but you're going to be working for these alternative, groups. And I see you starting off freelance, like you're still going to work your administrative job, but then kind of doing the freelance thing for a while. But then I see you getting hired on with an actual alternative media group, and I'm not sure which one, but but that, they'll be willing to pay you, for, doing the research into certain things that are going on. Now, do you have a degree in journalism or communications or?
Psychology.
Psychology, gotcha. Okay. But that kind of translates into, what you'll be doing. So I think you might end up having to get or take on some different, maybe some additional classes with, but it's not necessary because you're going to be so good at what you do that they're going to hire you regardless of the degree. I mean, you already have a degree, but, they're going to hire you regardless. So yeah, that's what I see you more moving into is, doing this kind of journalistic, investigative journalistic kind of work, but doing it for social justice, doing it to help people, not to, spread disinformation. You're not going to work for major media because you see through them. You see that they're disinformation specialists, and that's not what you are about. So you're going to be doing work that's going to be more about bringing forth the truth, your guides are saying that you're very good at writing and you're very good at communicating. So they're saying that you may even start your own. I'm seeing you actually possibly getting involved with alternative radio and alternative TV. I mean, you have a very photogenic, you're very photogenic. You're and you present yourself well. And even tonight, you look very nice, and they say that you express yourself well, you'll do well on TV. It's almost like you're going to work for like something like Gaia TV or some radio group that does investigative journalism, but also more spiritually oriented topics. So you'll start off doing the investigative journalism. You're going to move more into the UFO and the paranormal type of projects, because that's where your interest lies. So you'll be moving more into that, and they're showing me that you're going to be doing work that you're not just going to be writing blogs anymore. You're going to be actually either on the radio or on TV. I'm thinking more TV, but you're going to be working with some alternative media groups. And like I said, you'll be getting paid much better than doing what you're doing now. So it'll be good. So, but it'll take a while for you to develop to that point. So it might be a few years down the road. But I do see... you can choose to go back to school, but I don't think it's necessary. I don't think for what you're doing it's necessary.
There's not really a program for that.
Yeah, not really. Yeah, no. Because if you go to school for journalism, they're going to teach you the traditional journalism, which is not what you do. So, and I don't think you really need it because you have a degree in Actually, the degree in psychology is perfect because you're going to be using a lot of that information that you learned to do the investigative journalism. So, you're looking behind, people's motives and why they're doing what they're doing and things like that. So yeah, I see you doing more of that type of work. I do see you moving eventually into doing more spiritually oriented journalism. So you won't always do the ugly stories, so for lack of a better way of putting it, but you won't always do the the hardcore ugly stories. You'll be working more, you'll be moving more into nicer topics and more spiritually oriented topics. But you have to get your feet wet first with investigative journalistic stuff. So that's what I see as far as your future here on Earth, at least with this lifetime. Did you have any other questions for me, or?
Yeah, the investigative journalism is interesting because I'm not entirely good at I'm more of a conversationalist, I'd say, instead of more of a very on the point, remembering facts, numbers, dates, things like that, like journalists tend to
Right,
do.
right, gotcha. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I do see that you'll get better with facts, but you have kind of a conversational style that I think will people can really relate to. So when you write your stories, it's like you're going to be. It's not like, oh, dot 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 happened. It'll be like, oh, this is why this happened, and so you're going to put like the human factor into some of these stories. So, and I do see, but I don't see you staying writing for very long. I see you doing more radio shows and TV. So I do see, you will evolve in this career field. But I do. I mean, you're very smart. I mean, that's what your guys keep telling me. Oh, she's really smart. And I'm like, okay, I believe that. They tell me that you're very smart, and I think you have a tendency to. I think downplay your abilities. Okay, so they say that you're, and it's just because you're just a very humble person. That's just who you are. So, but they say you're extremely smart and you're extremely sharp. You're sharp. You hone in on things. I mean, that's why I think you decided to get your degree in psychology, because you know exactly what's going on behind the scenes. I mean, or you can figure it out usually. So they say not to, I think, not to diminish your abilities, because you do have, excellent abilities in the things that you do, and when you were doing the scientific work and the exploratory work, you had to deal with scientific principles and dealing with facts, and so.
yeah.
So you've learned how to work and you're going to approach it more scientifically, I think, than maybe investigatively, if that makes sense. So it's just I think that's what you're supposed to be going into. I don't see healing for so much for you in this lifetime, even though you've done it in previous lifetimes.
Really?
Yeah, I don't see that. Now, I think after a few years, I do see you. Are you interested in healing, or is that something that you have an interest in?
Yes.
Have you taken like Reiki courses and things like that?
Haven't taken anything yet.
I haven't taken anything. Okay. Okay, that's interesting. Why are they not telling me that you're? Because almost everybody I run across, I do these readings for. Almost all of them are healers. So why are they not telling me healer for you? Okay. They're saying that you can choose to go into healing, because you do have that choice, and you're actually quite good at it. But there's a lot of healers out there, so it's just a matter, I think, of. I do see that you'll be doing it as kind of a side thing, not as your major, money maker type of thing. But
Right.
why were you thinking about going back to school for healing, or no?
Well, I'm moving out of my parents' home real
Okay.
quick, and I wanted to make the space sort of a healing space, basically, for anyone who comes along. And perhaps I was going to use it as a way, as an income, to do healing and get training and things like that, because I
Right.
do especially with crystals. Like I have a big connection with crystals, which makes sense. You mentioned that.
Yeah, because you worked with crystals a lot, and I think your Native American life, and then your shamanic Siberian life. So
I have like a background in it. I just I'm surprised they aren't mentioning that.
yeah, me too. I'm kind of, yeah. Sometimes I don't know, and it could be me just not getting a real clear connection, which sometimes happens. But no, I mean, I saw in your past lives you were quite good at healing. But sometimes the records just show like probabilities. Actually, I can actually see you doing both. Where because I think it's smart not to just have like one stream of income, or just I see you because in the vision I had, I saw you doing more spiritually oriented shows on TV and radio. So you have to gather your information from somewhere, So I'm guessing that you'll likely go into some sort of healing path of some sort. I do see the healing that you do will probably be more psycho spiritual and emotional as opposed to just physical. Okay, but
Right.
um,
Agreed.
so I'm seeing that. So maybe that's why I wasn't seeing healing, because I don't see you being a physical healer as opposed to working on a higher level psycho spiritual, and you're going to be using crystals and all kinds of stuff for that. So I see you doing using sound therapy and all kinds of other. I actually see you possibly going into hypnosis and theta healing. So have you heard of both of the? I mean, you've heard of hypnosis. Have you heard of theta healing?
I haven't heard of theta healing.
Yeah, it's kind of like hypnosis, except you're using sound to get people to altered states of consciousness.
Okay.
So I do see you working more with that than just putting your hands on somebody and healing them physically. Okay, so
I agree.
yeah, yeah, I don't see you doing that so much. I see you doing higher level. You rather get to the core of the issue rather than dealing with just the physical symptoms. But I actually see you doing both that and the journalistic stuff. And I think you'll be able to find a good balance between the two areas, and you'll be very happy. I'm gonna check in on some other things for you. Okay, I do see in the future you're going to be doing a fair amount of traveling. You'll be traveling a lot to different parts of Europe. I do definitely see you going to Greece. You have this draw to Greece and the Mediterranean. So,
Yeah. I haven't been there yet. I've been to Italy and Croatia, but I didn't get to go to Greece.
yeah, I do see you going to Greece, and particularly the Greek islands. But I do see this draw for you to Greece, and that's because of your Greek past life. I do see you traveling to different parts of Europe, like the UK and Scandinavia, possibly. Netherlands keeps popping up. I don't know what's in the Netherlands, but you're gonna go.
I've been there.
You've been there, okay, okay. So you're gonna go back there. That's what they're telling me. I do see you traveling to the United States, particularly to the southwestern parts of the United States. I see you going to Sedona and certain parts of Arizona, and I even see you going to Colorado, because there's some very spiritual parts of Colorado. That like Crestone and the San Juan Mountains are very very. There's a big vortex there as well, and there's going to be a draw for you. I just see just a very happy, very, I think, adventure-filled life. With I don't see anything that I don't see any major traumas or anything. You're actually, as a soul, I've been talking to you for a little bit now, and I'm not seeing any karmic baggage with you at all. I mean, you're just very clear. I mean, your energy is very clear. You're very open. I connected with your heart chakra right away. I mean, it was very. I mean, you're just a very clear, open person. Which I guess is not usually the case. What are you, Libra Scorpio? Is that your kind of Libra Scorpio cusp? Yeah.
Yes, that's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah, you're Libra Scorpio, but you're very open. I mean, most Scorpios are very closed, but you're very open. I see your chakra systems are clear. I don't see any, because usually I see gray areas with certain people. You're just very, what you see is what you get with Alexis. That's who you are, There's no pretense, there's no hidden agendas with you. You're just, I think, you're gonna, you figure since you're here, you're gonna make the best of your incarnation, and you're gonna have as much fun as you can, and that's what I do see the kind of this healing journalistic thing that you'll be doing, and that's your kind of your soul mission is to bring forth the truth. And to do it in a way that's healing for others. So there's a good mix of bringing out the truth, but bringing it out in a way that is not harmful or harsh, but is more like, oh, okay, this is the reality of what's going on. Now we can heal and move past this. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing for you. So yeah, no, I see. Just a really happy lifetime here. Now, in your future lives, I'm going to check in on that because we do have a few more minutes, so I'm going to check in on future lives. As much as you want to go back to Blue Avian, I don't see that happening. Oops, it's kind of I think physically that was extremely difficult. I don't see you going back to Alpha Centauri. I see you possibly choosing to stay on in New Earth when New Earth has, shifted into fifth dimension. So I do see you incarnating as higher human in that reality, but I don't see. I don't see you staying in third dimension. You're just not going to do that. You've done that enough, and you're just like, no, this is it. Yeah. So, you're kind of doing what I'm doing with my life. I'm at the point where I was in the military. I've had a long career in environmental science, and I'm like, what? For the rest of my life, I'm going to, since I'm here, I might as well enjoy myself, live a spiritual life, have a good time, be able to travel, and, maybe, be able to help other people, in the meantime, which is why I do these Akashic readings, is, not to make money so much. It's, to help other people, because I feel a calling to do that. So I'm just, I see you doing the same thing, that you're going to use your healing to help other people. You'll have, I see you having multiple money sources, where you're going to be making money doing different things. You're not going to have the 9-to-5 job for much longer. I see you becoming a lot more entrepreneurial in your near future. So. They keep talking about Nasara, and I mean, they've been talking about that for 20 years, and I've had yet to see Nasara come to pass, but, and you know what Nasara is, right?
I don't.
Oh, you don't? Okay. Supposedly when Saint Germain, who's an ascended master, had an Earth incarnation. He was a banker, and he set up a system where all debts will be, I guess, forgiven. So, and then every individual on Earth will get $100,000 to start a new life. Okay.
Okay, I have heard of this.
Yeah. And so a lot of us in the spiritual community have been hoping that Nasara will come to pass, but it's like, okay, it's like been a couple of decades now. Yeah, you have a very light-hearted reading. Some of my readings are really heavy, and yours was really nice. I enjoyed doing this reading today, so thank you so much. Yeah. So I would like to thank the masters, teachers, and loved ones for their love and compassion. I would like to thank the Lords of the Akashic Records for their point of view. And I would like to thank the Holy Spirit of Light for all knowledge and healing. The records are now closed. Amen. The records are now closed. Amen. The records are now closed. Amen. Your energy goes with you. My energy stays with me. And I thank you for allowing me to do this reading today. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Well, thank you for doing it. That was incredible.
Yeah. It was like all the places you went to were just really cool. I mean, I was just like, wow, she's traveled a lot, and you've had a lot of interesting experiences even here on Earth. So I hope that's been helpful to you. And yeah, and like I said, if you think of any like last minute questions, just shoot me an email or a message, because I'm happy to answer those for you.